What up, Bucs fans, NFL fans, and gambling fans? Welcome back to another week of Pewter Picks and Props brought to you by PewterReport.com. It is week 4 of the NFL season, week 5 of college football, and I'm your host, Matt Matera, ready to bring you all of the best picks and Bucs props in this week of football. Let me start off by saying, first of all, thank you everybody for watching the show. But I have to start off by saying, last week, picks-wise, props-wise, was one of the wackiest weeks I've ever had picking college football, NFL, and the Bucs games. Before we get into this week, like I do for every show, let's start off with my record going into this week. And it was super, super odd because last week I was crushing it with the Bucs props. Last week, ice cold. I guess I spoke too soon. I flew too close to the sun, and I was abysmal in my Bucs player props. I actually went 0 for 6. 0 for 6. That's disgusting. But that's also the beauty of this gambling show. If I keep losing, just fade me and go against my picks, and you'll end up winning. But on the flip side of it, college football, I was 6-1. I could barely miss in college football. I also did pretty well with NFL around the league, but I went wrong with my Bucs picks as well. I think the props going wrong and being incorrect about the Bucs game was more of an indictment of just the Bucs offense not showing up at all. The defense wasn't great either. It was just a terrible performance by the Bucs, and I went a little too over heavy, so I corrected that this week, especially with the player props. But I'm on a roll with the college picks. As you see, I'm 12-7 on the year in college, 13-9 with the NFL. That includes the Bucs games. 6-7 on Bucs props. I'm still trying to crack the end zone in a touchdown prop. I think I got one this week. So let's keep it moving with college football. 7 games to pick from going with the college slate. Starting off with a rebound game for Kansas State. I have them -5 over Oklahoma State. Kansas State got steamrolled last week at a late night game at BYU. Oklahoma State lost at home to Utah. Something's got to give. One of these teams has to bounce back. They both had bad losses in their own right. Kansas State is at home. I think they're the team to bounce back. They've shown before they can get up off of the dirt. And I don't think Oklahoma is that good. They should have lost to Arkansas. It wasn't really that close against Utah until they started coming back before it was a little too late. I'll take the Wildcats -5 at home with a bounce back for them. Next game, a polarizing team that everybody's obsessed with one way or another. You either love them or you hate them. And a Floridian team that I haven't picked just yet, but they're coming off of a huge win. Both of their defenses stink. Colorado UCF over 62. Like I said, their defenses are bad on each side. Colorado's awful in the trenches, but they got Shedeur Sanders, and what's really important is they have Travis Hunter, so they can put up points. Their defense can't stop a nosebleed. UCF showed that they can come back in games and score, while their defense doesn't really do much either. So even though it's high at 62, give me the over all day in Colorado at UCF. I think that's a 3:30 kickoff in Orlando. Sticking with another over, I just freaking love watching this team. It doesn't matter if it's Quinn Ewers or Arch Manning at quarterback. Texas is going to win this game. I don't know if they're going to cover the spread because it's over 30 points, and that's a very high number. But Mississippi State stinks. Their defense also awful. They allow tons and tons of points, and they also score here and there. So Texas may end up scoring 40 or 50 points on their own. I'll take the over in Mississippi State, Texas. They are playing this game at Texas. So over 59.5. Again, plenty of points scored for Texas. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. They just ball out on the offensive side. That's going to be a fun one to watch. Another interesting Big Ten matchup. One team had a big win on the road last week. The other one thinks that they are a contender to win the Big Ten. This game, Illinois at Penn State. I'm taking Illinois, the Fighting Illini, riding the momentum of winning on the road against Nebraska last week. They are a ranked team. Nebraska was. Illinois is as well. I think Penn State's going to win this game. You know, they got smacked around a couple weeks ago. They beat Bowling Green, but it was very close, and they had to scratch and claw their way back in. Haven't played a truly great game just yet against a tough competition. I know they beat West Virginia in week 1 and kind of pulled away late. But Illinois, a tough, gritty team. They're going to run the football. They're going to grind it out. It might be a little ugly. It might be a little sloppy. Penn State can very much win this game. However, I see them winning maybe by 2 touchdowns, but not by 17.5 points. So Illinois plus 17.5 is the pick in this one. A late night game, Washington State against Boise State. I'm going to take the under of 65. I just think that's a very high number. These are two teams that like to do some gadget stuff, can move the ball around. But again, with a number that high, you're asking for everything to go right the whole entire game. As we see in college football, that doesn't always happen. There's fumbles, there's interceptions. Sometimes drives get a little cold. You think it's going to be high scoring, and it just doesn't always go that way. So this is a late night game. I think it's 10:30. I'll take the under in that one. 2 more picks coming from the same game. It's the best game of the week. It's the marquee matchup. Bama hosting Georgia. You have to bet on this game because it's so good. So because of that, my first pick, I'm taking Bama +1 against Georgia. As we've seen, Georgia's been an absolute juggernaut over the past couple of years. 2 national championships in a row. The 2 and 3 seasons ago. Steamrolled Florida State in the bowl game last year. So this is a team that knows how to win. They've won plenty of championships recently. However, Alabama is the one team that has Kirby Smart's number. Jalen Milroe, the starting quarterback for Alabama, beat Georgia last season in the SEC championship game. Now, was it just Jalen Milroe? No, it was the whole team. Also, Nick Saban was that coach. He is no longer the head coach of Nick Saban. So is it more of a Nick Saban versus Kirby Smart thing or an Alabama versus Georgia type of thing? We will find out, but I'm going to take Bama +1, riding that history of Bama against Georgia. I'm taking the under as well. We got to remember when Georgia was on the road 2 weeks ago against Kentucky, they could not move the ball, but their defense obviously travels. I see that happening this week. Georgia's defense is great. Bama's defense can hold up against Georgia. It's going to be a stalemate for a lot of it. I see one of these teams winning, 24-21. I don't think anyone makes the 30-point threshold. I don't even think both teams make the 25-point threshold. So it's going to be an awesome game, 7:30. It's the marquee matchup of this one. I'll take Bama +1. I don't like betting the under in these huge games, but I got to go with my gut and not with my heart in this one. And so I'll take the under 49.5, but should be a lot of fun. All right, let's move on over to the NFL. A lighter slate for me this week. There's just not a lot of games that I was in love with. And because of that, I'm not just going to pick a game to pick a game. I pick games that I feel good about, that I am confident are going to win. Because at the end of the day, you want a winning record. It doesn't matter if you're a winning record with 7 games or 2 games or whatever it is. So I have 3 NFL games this week. That does not include the Buccaneers. We'll get to the Bucs soon after that. But we'll stay in the NFC South. My first pick in the NFL this week is Saints +3 at the Falcons, a big-time matchup in the NFC South. I know Bucs fans will be paying a lot of attention to this one as well. I'm just not a big believer in the Falcons. They have all the weapons on offense, but something just ain't adding up. They're not running the ball that well with Bijan Robinson. Any pressure on Kirk Cousins, and it's an incomplete or a sack or just a bad play. He can hit the guys when he's open, when he has time, but that Saints defense is a bad mamma jamma. They still get a good pass rush. They still got a lot of talented players, even though they are older. They took it to the Eagles last week defensively. Of course, the Eagles won the game, but I don't really blame the defense too much for that one. The Saints offense surprisingly couldn't move the football. However, I think they get back on track this week, not necessarily scoring 40 points because the Falcons do have a good defense as well, a very respectable one. Another kind of grinded out type of game. I just don't trust the Falcons offense. And because of that, I'm going to take the Saints +3. Falcons could win in a very close game. There's no doubt about it. But Saints +3 is the pick in this one. I got a couple of unders coming as well. Shout out to The Undertaker because the NFL has been tough with the overs this week. Forget about the Monday night game with the Bengals and Washington. That was a great game to watch. awesome job by Jaden Daniels. But unders have really been hitting a lot. So I'm going to take the best defense in the league right now, Steelers, playing against Anthony Richardson and the Colts, who has just not been a good quarterback early in year 2 for him and 3 games into the season. 40 is a low number, but here's the reason I'm taking the under in this one. Either the Steelers defense is going to pitch a shutout against the Indianapolis Colts or limit them to, 10 points, whatever it is. I really don't see the Colts scoring more than 10, albeit there could be turnovers and things like that. If the Steelers are going to shut out the Colts, the Steelers' offense is not scoring 40 points. They're not even going to score 30 points. Their offense is not good. It's sustainable. It's movable. I like Justin Fields as a mobile quarterback. He's obviously not even like a top 15 quarterback in this league, but there's no way the Steelers just win 40-0. I mean, I guess there's a possibility. Anything is possible, but I just don't see it happening. Or the other flip side of it is that the Colts do get an upset win. If they do end up winning this game, they're not going to be winning 30-20 or whatever it may be. It would be because the Steelers just absolutely cannot get a first down or get a touchdown or anything like that. Kind of like how the Steelers beat the Falcons in the first week of the season, just getting it to the red zone and then settling for field goals. So either way, regardless of who wins, it's going to be a low-scoring affair. So under of 40 is that one. My last NFL pick, non-Buccaneers NFL pick, another marquee matchup in the NFL this week. One team could not stop scoring in their last game, which was actually on Monday. Bills-Ravens, I'm still taking the under 46.5. Again, you're asking for a lot of things to go right. The Bills are not playing the Jaguars. The Ravens are not playing a bad Cowboys defense. So Buffalo's not going to be able to score every single time. The Ravens have a good pass rush. They have a disciplined defense. They haven't been fantastic this year, but they're going to be able to slow down Josh Allen where he's not scoring every 2 or 3 minutes. The reason why the Ravens were so good against the Cowboys is because they were running the crap out of the football with Lamar Jackson and a couple of the other running backs they have there, Derrick Henry, of course. The Bills are going to commit to selling out against the run. And while Lamar's a great quarterback, he's a top 5 quarterback in this league, the passing game for the Ravens just hasn't been there. Something's off with Zay Flowers. The tight end had a great game in week 1, but it hasn't always been there for the Ravens besides that first game. It's going to be a back-and-forth game. Both teams are going to score a fair amount, but 46.5, I don't know. I see a couple of big defensive stops in that game, so that will be my last NFL pick, 46.5, the under in Bills versus Ravens. All right, the moment we've been waiting for, Buccaneers versus Eagles. It's a 1 o'clock game in Tampa, Florida. The Bucs were horrible last week. They're looking to bounce back. The Eagles avenged their loss against the Falcons and had a big-time win against the Saints. Now they play their 3rd straight NFC South team in a row. So my pick for this one, Bucs plus 1.5 and the under of 42.5. I think this is going to be an absolute rock fight of a game. We don't know how the weather is going to be because there's still a little aftermath from the hurricane coming to the Florida area, a lot of tropical storms, specifically in the Tampa Bay area. The Eagles are without Devontae Smith. Their other wide receiver and their top wide receiver, A.J. Brown, is questionable. He's not even 100%, even if he does end up playing. So that means it's going to be a ton of running the football with Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts as well. If Vita Vea can play, that's a huge upgrade for the Bucs in their commitment to stopping the run. If they stop Saquon Barkley, they will win this game. So I think it's a low-scoring affair. The Bucs have their own issues with protection. I don't know how Graham Barton and Cody Mauch and Ben Bredesen are going to stop Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis in the middle. Carter was fantastic last week, so Baker's going to experience a lot more pressure. This is not the week where the Bucs get the ground game going. I think they're still going to stall out in that area. While Mike Evans and Chris Godwin can do their thing, and they will have their moments, it's not going to be consistent enough. Consistent enough to win, but that's going to be a defensive win for the Buccaneers. So plus 1.5. Vita Vea returns. A big game from Levante David. A big game by the linebackers in general. Servase Dennis on Dallas Goedert, KJ Britt doing his part as well. A team effort, a bounce-back game for the defense while the offense still figures some things out. So I'll take the Bucs plus 1.5, winning at home, and the under of 42.5. So player props, sticking with the Bucs needing to stop the run, I really, really like Jordan Whitehead over 6.5 tackles. He's already had a double-digit game this year. He had 8 tackles in week 2. His worst game was last week where he still recorded 6 tackles. So you got to think, with the Eagles wanting to run the football, Jordan Whitehead is going to be in the box non-stop. Even if he has an average game, that's still going to be 7 tackles. So give me the over of 6.5 tackles for Jordan Whitehead. Going to the offensive side, Mike Evans. What's been the discussion all week? We have to get Mike Evans more involved. Todd Bowles said it. Baker Mayfield has said it. Offensive coordinator Liam Cohen has said it. So early in this game, look for some slants, look for some flood plays by the Bucs, short passes to Mike. Then they'll eventually go deep to him. They're going to pepper the football to Mike Evans. He's their best player on offense. He's their best wide receiver. Over 4.5 catches is the play. This prop is going to hit because they are going to target Mike probably double-digit times. Of course, though, the mainstay at wide receiver for the Bucs this year, the guy that has been doing everything in the offense for Tampa Bay, has been Chris Godwin. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's go with the over of 64.5 receiving yards for Chris Godwin. This is a good matchup for the Bucs offense against the Eagles if they can protect up front, which I don't know if they can do that. But if they can, the Eagles don't move their corners. They stay on each side of the field. So you can get the right matchup for Mike Evans. And then for Chris Godwin specifically, who's going to go up against him in the slot? Is it going to be one of the linebackers? Is it going to be one of the safeties for the Eagles? Either way, that's a huge advantage for Chris Godwin. You know he's going to get a screen or two. He could always break one pretty big. And then nonetheless, Baker Mayfield trusts Chris Godwin. He's always looking for Chris Godwin. And one way or another, he's getting the football. So I'll take the over of 64.5 receiving yards for Chris Godwin. He's going to be knocking on the door for the league lead in receiving yards in the NFL. I really believe it. So he's got to get over that number if he wants to maintain the pace with everybody else in the league. He's 8th right now, and that includes Malik Neighbors, who already played a game on Thursday night. So Chris Godwin in for a career year. Okay, so you heard me at the beginning talk about that there are – I went too over heavy in last week. Well, I had to correct that. One way I'm going to correct that is with the under in rushing yards for Rachaad White. It's under 35.5 rushing yards. And it's nothing against Rachaad personally or specifically. We just got to look at all the facts. The Bucs were terrible running the football this year. They've pretty much been terrible for the last 2 weeks running the football. Their one bright spot has been Bucky Irving, who rushed for 70 yards last week. Todd Bowles said as well that Bucky Irving is going to get more reps running the football. So, if Bucky Irving is getting more reps, who does that hurt? Rachaad White. Rachaad has just not figured it out yet running the football, and it's not all of his fault. He's been in a lot of zone blocking plays. The offensive line has not done well zone blocking. They've been better with the gap blocking, which Bucky was in on when he got tackled at the 1-yard line. Like I said before, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, they're going to stifle the Bucs offensive line. Rachaad White not going to get a ton of traction. Plus, more volume for Bucky Irving. It has to be the under for Rachaad White of 35.5 rushing yards. I'm not happy about it, but we're about winning, and this is a winning pick. My last prop before we go to a touchdown prop is going to be with Cade Otton. I know he had a big week last week. I don't think he will have a repeat performance. So Cade Otton under 24.5 receiving yards. He was a safety valve for Tampa Bay last week and for Baker Mayfield specifically. He tied his career best with 7 catches. Still didn't get that many yards down the field. I think it was like 49 or something like that. I could be a little bit off. He doesn't have any yards after the catch ability. He's been making all of his receptions within 6 or 7 yards. So that was with Mike Evans. doing nothing in the game, and same with Jalen McMillan. Trey Palmer will probably get a lot of opportunities this week with Jalen McMillan being doubtful. So if any of those guys are open, Cade Otton does not become a factor in the offense at all. So because of that, it's Cade Otton under 24.5 receiving yards. The touchdown prop of the week. I went with Bucky the first 2 weeks and Mike Evans in week 3. I got to find a winner, and I will find a winner. So why not go with the guy that has continuously scored a touchdown in every single game this season? We're going back to Chris, praise be to Godwin, Christopher Godwin. Anytime touchdown, that's a great value of plus 155 for a guy that scored every single week. I see no reason why he won't reach the end zone again. Baker Mayfield is looking at him the whole time. He'll find a way, whether it's a big play or near the red zone or at the goal line. Nobody, and I mean nobody, has been more involved with the offense than Chris Godwin. So you just got to keep that locomotive going, keep the train rolling, keep the momentum in the direction of Chris Godwin. Him for a touchdown one more time at plus 155. So those are my picks this week. Got to bounce back with the Bucs player props. Need to keep it going with the college football picks, and let's get another winning record for the NFL as well. If you need to follow me on my social media, I am at Matty4_Matera. You can see it in the bottom corner there. Of course, please make sure you're following Pewter Report on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know if you agree with my picks, if you like some, if you hate some, if you have your own picks. Feel free to put that in as well. You guys have been great with the viewership. We had great numbers last week. Hope to top them this week as well. So please leave a comment if you can. That's going to do it for me on tonight's show. Thanks to everybody for watching. I love all of you. And let's win some money. Out.